Welcome back, everybody. We are now on the number one thing to consider before starting a business in 2021. So the playlist at the end of the video will have all the other videos if you're just jumping in now. And I'll do a brief recap, but don't just take the brief recap for everything that I've shared in those prior videos. It might be worth it for you if you're considering starting a business or know somebody who is, to listen through those whole videos, because there's some things that I share in there that I'm not going to cover in the um, recap here. And then there's other things as I've gone through and done the recaps as well that I'll add that I didn't cover in the original video. So it might be worth it for you to listen to them all as you have time. But before we get started, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, hit the alert button, and feel free to share this video with anybody who you know of that might be considering starting a business in 2021. Or if you are yourself, take a listen and a gander to it. But if you're sharing it with somebody, that loved one that is getting ready to start, maybe it's easy for them to listen to me, have these conversations and ask these questions versus them hearing it from you. They may not be receptive to it, but again, I don't have any skin in the game with them. I don't know them, so it's a lot easier for them maybe to hear it from me, or at least for you to be able to have them listen to it and you not have to say the things that, if you're in agreement with what I'm saying, might be a good thing. So I'm going to do a quick recap before we jump into number one. And then again, gave a bonus tip here. Is this a hobby or a passion? Are you going to crush your hobby and passion by converting it and turning it into a business? Hear of so many people that end up doing that and just end up losing all the passion that they had for this because they're not doing what they want to do. They have to meet the demands of clients. And that's not necessarily something that they wanted to do. So not necessarily a bad thing, but again, just keep, understand that that may happen, for you, but maybe you're just that type of person that it will never happen and you're so into it. It doesn't happen to everybody, but just something to consider. Number 10, is your business solving a major problem? Again, what are you doing? Are you jumping into a space where there's a ton of competition? Are you an accountant and there's already 1,000,001, accounting firms or law practices, that and there's so much competition there? Are you jumping in to something that somebody's already doing? Maybe it's the right time. I'm not saying that it's not because of all the fallout that's taking place in the current situation that we're all in, but maybe it's not, right? But if your business is coming up with something that is solving a major problem that's, evolved from what we're currently facing, or something that's been around for a long time and, you're addressing that finally, maybe it is the right time, but just understand that there's challenges that we're facing. And so make sure that that's something, if you can, solve a major problem or fix or provide a solution or fix something that's, causing pain, to a large market, you'll do well regardless of whether it's a downturn in the economy or not. Number 9, is your boo fully on board? Is your spouse, your better half, your husband, your wife, your partner, do they know fully what you're getting into and what they're ultimately going to be getting into in some capacity, even if it's emotionally? Have you had that honest conversation with them? If not, you need to, because again, this is not the typical job, right? And they're going to be fully vested with you, whether you believe it or not, even if it's just emotionally. Are you personally cash flow positive for the long term? You cannot just do a quick, unrealistic pro forma, which you need to do. You need to do a realistic pro forma before you start, which showcases worst case scenario, right? Low earnings, low sales, and then ask yourself, is this something I really want to do, right? And if it is, great, and if you can sustain it and get by with doing it, then maybe it is the right situation for you. But I'm going to tell you right now that if you put the worst case scenario down, even in your own mind, it may be worse than what you're considering. So, again, something for you to think about and you should be doing before you start. Lockdown, a lot of unknown questions and answers here, or questions, no answers that we don't know about, a lot of unknowns still. So again, if you're thinking about doing it now, we still may be a year and a half out. We don't know what the economy is going to look like. I know the market's at an all-time high, but you still don't know if it's going to maintain or if the Fed can keep things going. Again, just be very, very careful with starting in 2021 and with our current situation. Do you have the energy that it takes? Do you need Red Bulls or 5-hour energy? Because you have to have the energy for yourself, for your business, your newborn baby that you have here, which is your business. Your employees, it's not their business, it's yours, and they're not going to look at it the same way as you. So you have to have enough energy for everybody to inspire, to motivate, and then also for your personal life. Are you just trying to escape? Not a good reason to start a business. This is not a job replacement. Starting a business is not a good reason to replace or to start one to replace your job. Get a better work situation if you can, right? Maybe you need more time. Maybe you're just at capacity or over capacity, and you need a change of pace and something that's not going to require you to put in the hours that you're putting in, even if that requires you to take a little bit less pay. Something to consider that situation. Maybe it's a toxic work situation, and you just need a change of pace from what that looks like. That does not mean that you should start a business because those things are going on. What's the competition look like locally, regionally, nationally, and then globally? You may start something that you're competing against, places in the world that are doing it a lot cheaper. What's the success and failure ratio of the industry as an average, right? A lot of things to consider. You can go back and look at the prior videos. Number 3, do you have what it takes? Are you just a subject matter expert or have a very specific, area that you're really, really good at? Or have you said it can't be that hard? Anybody can do it? Not the case. You need to have a realistic conversation. I know you think you're the smartest person you know, and if that's the case, you need to have a conversation with your family and friends because if they love you, they'll tell you the truth, right? That you're putting everything on the line here, and you may not know as much as you think you know, and you'll get a very tough education if you're not fully prepared and understand what it's going to take. So just consider that. Do you have sufficient capital to start this venture? That's the number one cause for not surviving, right? Not having enough cash flow, whether it be downturns like we're currently facing, or just enough to get you over the startup hump, right? In terms of you're not generating enough sales. Having enough capital to get you by is critical. The number one reason why businesses fail is not having enough capital. And you can look at the current environment, and that's exactly what's happening. Maybe if they had just another 3 months, maybe they will survive. Maybe everything will turn around. And if they just had enough capital to last another 3 months, maybe they go gangbusters. But got to have that, set up and get it going, if you are up and going as quickly as possible and as much as possible. And then the big thing that you need to answer is, can you afford to fail? And what I mean by that, there's a couple of different aspects, right? Are you at a point in life where if you fail, you'll be able to get a job, right? You've not outpriced yourself. You're not at an age where it's going to take you a lot longer to get a job, or if you need to get a job, right? Or if you fail, you start something and you fail, you can then retire because you've not touched your 401k, your retirement savings, and anything that looks like. And I don't know how long Social Security will be around, but maybe you try this thing, and if you have to close the doors, you'll still be okay. But maybe you're starting it later on and you're not somebody who's just getting going, but you have some skill sets. So there's some advantages there as well, right? And you have some connections and contacts. But can you afford to fail? Because most of the time businesses do fail. And if you're having a realistic look, you may be the exception. And again, I hope you are. I really, really do. But you need to ask yourself, what does it look like if I do fail? You need to go down that path in your mind, and you have to have that conversation with your better half, as I talked about, and people that love you, your family and friends that are going to have that honest conversation with you. What does it look like if you fail? Now, maybe you're young enough, you have enough experience, you're not just out of college, but you have, 6-7 years in, you've got that expertise, you've got capital, you've got the energy, you've got all the things. You can answer yes and positively to all the things that we've covered so far. You can do this, and I encourage you, that's the time to do it before you have family and friends. You can live on the cheap. That's when you can start it. And then if you do fail, you can either do it again. It's not going to be that critical of a blow to you, and you'll learn a lot in the process of doing it. But then you're young enough to where you still have enough time to do it again, right? And there's a lot of benefit from having failed before, right? Because if your second venture, you have a lot different perspective going in on just the mistakes that you've made that you won't make again, the experience of running a business. So starting it young enough so you can fail and fail positively is when you want to do it. So you typically, if you fall into that category, that's the best time for you to start one if the situation isn't what we're currently looking at as well. Again, you have to go through and answer positively to all the other points that we've talked about here. But if not, again, go down that road in both scenarios, right? What does it look like if you fail? And then what does it look like from a failure standpoint, personally, emotionally, and financially, right? There's a lot of baggage that goes on when you have a failed business and venture. It is hard. It is your baby, and it takes a while to overcome what that looks like, right? And it might take you a couple of years to recover. You might have some emotional scarring, personal scarring. What does it do to your family, right? That's something else. So you got to consider those things. It's not just failing financially. There's a lot of baggage and things that go with failing, but it's an important question for you to answer and answer honestly. So thanks for checking in and tuning in for this top 10. The next top 10 series we're gonna cover is top 10 things you need to do to start a business. So let's say you've gone through this top 10 list and you're like, yes, this is the right time for me to do it, and I want to do this. I can answer positively to the majority of those questions. We're going to cover the things that you need to do to get going and just some basics there. Not necessarily some basics, but just some other things to consider that you need to do. You might not have any idea in terms of what to do or how to get going. And we're going to cover that in the next top 10 series. So do me a favor, again, hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up, hit the alert button, and then share this video or this playlist and this series with people you know of that might be willing to or need to hear it from me versus hearing it from you. And we'll talk to you at the next video series.